So, I don't know. I'm trying to give myself some space and time, but a couple things were very made clear to me. The guard was dumbfounded on what he should do originally. I mean, I went back down there probably about like 5 minutes ago and I talked to the guard and I said, I don't do good in escalative situations. And I was just trying to go into the community room to grab something off the giveaway table because I saw something on the giveaway table. And people had a problem with it. People had a problem with it, and people were all down, all up my ass and up my case that people had a problem with it, and people usually do have a problem with it because they make a big deal about my weight and etc. And people are making it look like I'm like a fat ass or something. Then they're gonna say, "Oh, he lashed out at us." And people saw me in the video. I didn't lash out at anybody, but I did tell the lady to have a heart attack because unfortunately that was my adopted grandmother, or the lady who was supposed to be like an adopted grandmother to me, who I stopped talking to as of a month or two ago. Um, and I stopped talking to her because she's lost my respect, and she's lost a lot of respect from me, and a lot of rights to be in my life and stuff. But yet she's still sitting there like she has an opinionated opinion about my life and about what goes on in my life and about my mother and stuff like that. So I was pretty pissed. What really sucks is that you think people are on your you think people are you really truly have your back, but they really don't. It's like everybody for their goddamn selves around here. And ironically, it was a friend of, well, it was a friend of a friend, or somebody who was a friend of Greg's, basically. She's not a friend of mine anymore, but she was a friend of Greg's. And she was the first person that opened her mouth with a problem about the stuff. So of course, Greg's gonna get everything he wants through her anyways, where she treats him out to food and stuff. So I don't have to worry about Greg because I'm not talking to Greg for about a month, for about a month or two now. So actually, it's about a month, maybe 2 months, maybe forever, depending if I can keep my housing above my head after all this, because Claudia's gonna have a big problem with it. Claudia, my landlord, is gonna have a big problem with it. For a minute there, my the security guard was shaking his head, thinking he almost might have to call the cops because he thinks I'm yelling at the elderly. But I think the video kind of shows that the elderly were ganging up on me, calling me fat and calling me all these names and etc. When it comes to like the giveaway food and stuff that we sometimes receive and stuff, and people taking it, like myself and other people, and. Um, so I think there's a huge problem with that. I think there's a huge problem with that people have a problem with my happiness, and people have a problem with me being happy because really they're not happy with themselves and etc. But um I'm fine for the most part, but it showed a lot about Greg. It showed a lot about Greg, I'm realizing Greg is two-faced. Greg is two-faced, and I won't be hanging out with Greg because Greg is really two-faced, and he sat there, at the table with Marie, and he gets every fucking thing that he wants through Marie and through all his friends and family and etc. So I don't want to hear about me getting everything I want. She should be, Marie should be up Greg's ass about stuff because he's more her friend than I am. But um. I don't know. I don't mean to really be frustrated with people. I don't really mean to upset people. I mean, I don't do really good in escalative situations. I don't do good in escalative situations. So and that kind of turned into an escalative situation because people were looking to provoke. People were looking to provoke, and somehow I kind of knew about that. Somehow I kind of knew because somehow something told me, oh, don't even try to grab and take something because somebody's gonna have something to say about it, and then they're gonna be down your throat, and there's gonna be some type of problem and etc. Because they're down your throat and etc. I didn't threaten the poor woman, but I did tell I did tell one woman to have a heart attack because she's elderly and old and seems to be really nasty and rude to me. But I mean, I don't really mean to really put my hands on anybody. I mean, there was a time where they got me right where they wanted me, and they kind of got me really frustrated to the point that I was accused of almost flipping over a table, because I was accused of almost flipping over a table, and Claudia heard about it, and I was almost, almost evicted, or, almost evicted for it, or she wasn't going to put up with it. Truthfully, she might not be putting up with this now, and there might be a problem and stuff like that, but, and I might end up being actually evicted now that the rent's late and stuff like that. But if I get evicted or something, or if I get into a situation where there's an escalative situation and I'm not allowed back on the property, then I'm not gonna have anywhere to go, because I'm not gonna be allowed to get back into my own apartment to grab my own things and stuff like that, to do what I have to do, because people have done that. People have gotten to those situations before, where people say, "Oh, this is an escalative situation," or you're in trouble with the housing authority. You're not allowed back on the property until we clear you to grab your stuff, and then you can get out and stuff like that. And I have nowhere else to go. My mother's not going to be able to drive down here and stuff like that to get me and stuff like that. I have nowhere else to go. So, this is my home until I either find another place to relocate to, or I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my mom gets me into escalative situations too, and she knows that, and that's why she threw it in my face, because she was the biggest instigator to escalative situations in my childhood. I was a lot more sicker in my childhood, but she was the biggest escalative instigator in my childhood. So, um, moving back in with my mother would be beneficial in a way, but it would also take away from a lot of my freedoms and a lot of the other things and stuff I have going for me and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if there's gonna really be really be a thing where I'm in trouble or not. But I mean, I did talk to the guard. He said, "Don't worry about it. It's out of your control," and stuff like that. And I told him I was just gonna stay upstairs for the rest of the night. But I did pop my head back down there and talk to the guard and say, I don't really mean to be in escalative situations, but just trying to grab something from the community room when, it's just been ridiculous with everybody opinionated and stuff like that. Of course, Marie, Greg's friend, has an opinion about that. But then she's the first person that wants to see what I get from Tamu and stuff. She's the first person to be like, "Oh, what'd you get from Tamu? Or what'd you get from this?" The first person wants to see what I get in the mail, so they could be all up in my business. But yet, they don't like, whatever. Regardless, it just showed another side of Greg tonight it showed another side of Greg tonight that made me kind of realize some things about Greg, and made me kind of realize that I really do not want to be back talking to Greg and be talking to Greg in a situation where I'm communicating in any way with Greg. I just rather not do it. I rather just do what I have to do to take care of what I have to take care of, and you know, and then do what but I don't mean to really be in an escalative situation. I was pretty much overwhelmed. I was pretty much overwhelmed to the point I was almost getting triggered with my mental health. It was that bad. Because I was getting really overwhelmed and stuff with the whole situation, with the escalative situation. So, I mean, I'm upstairs. I've been upstairs. I mean, I stopped only downstairs to talk to the guard, and I came back up. So, for the most part, I'm by myself. But I'm pretty sure, when Claudia gets a hold of this or something, I'm going to be in realm for eviction for sure, because this is the second time it's happened. It's the second time it's happened since the start of the weekend. Yesterday I was told that the elderly neighbors, or the female neighbors, were yelling so loud that the guard only heard them. But I was also right by the door this time, and now because I was right by the door, he basically said he heard me, and stuff like that. But it's not like I don't mean to disrespect my elders and stuff, but when people start yelling at you and being escalative, it kind of creates an escalative situation for me, and it's part of the things that I need to work on. This is why I told the guard, this is why I'm not in politics. This is why I'm not in politics, because as soon as things escalate with like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, I can't deal. I can't cope or deal, because I'll get swept away and stuff that will just get more and more escalative, and I can't deal with politics that way, because I just can't deal with the escalatory stuff. So I'm home for the night. I was actually gonna make pizza for dinner. That was my plan. I said to myself, if I don't hear from my friend Mateo, because I called him a couple times. I said I'm gonna call him a couple times. If I don't hear from him, I'll probably make some pizza, because I have pizza that I can put in the oven. I mean, the video shows that there were plenty of these little milkshake drinks down there. There were plenty of them. I grabbed what, like 7 or 6. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I got to be careful with my words and what I say to my neighbors, because it's like everything's got to be used against me for a problem or some type of bullshit. So, of course, the thing with the situation with our building too is that the people my age and younger were not supposed to be in the building with the elderly, but since the housing things changed for the housing and stuff, we all got kind of squished together with the elderly and stuff, and there's been a lot of issues and stuff over time between the elderly and and then the younger people, and then the younger adults. And I am an adult, despite that video, which was very, degrading and etc. To my overall growth and etc. Which I mean, the guard said too, I should have walked away, and probably should have. I was trying to grab these little milkshake things and just walk out the door, and pretty much, walk back upstairs, because I wasn't trying to deal with it. But as soon as the guard said, I should almost have the cops called on me, I said, what the fuck, I looked at that and said, what the fuck, because why do I need the cops called on me? Because I walked in the community room and I started getting yelled at and bullied over my weight. But yeah, of course I'm yelling at, like, not trying to really yell, but I'm raising my voice a little bit, because apparently it's like a shouting match where they're yelling at me and I have to raise my voice a little bit to be heard, but I'm not trying to like yell at them. I'm not really trying to threaten anybody. I'm not trying to threaten anybody. I mean, I did tell her to have a heart attack, but that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with her own bodily functions. If she drops dead of a heart attack, I mean, but for me personally, I mean, I wasn't trying to like put my hands on anybody or nothing. I was just trying to do what I have to do to grab what I need to grab, and and that. But that was a very bad situation, and that goes on a lot. That goes on a lot for me when I talk about the escalative situations here in the building. That happens a lot with like the elderly and stuff. That happens a lot, especially for me. Happens a lot to this lady named Althea. Althea and I grew up in childhood, but Althea's big boned. She's a big boned black woman, and she's more heavier set than I am, and she gets picked on about her weight and about the things in the community room and stuff too. I think what really worked for her is when she got a boyfriend. When she got a boyfriend and decided she wasn't going to get involved with the elderly neighbors and get involved with everybody, that it worked out really well for her. It worked out really to the point that she, was able to kind of grow a lot from her situation with getting a boyfriend that really supported her and stuff. I mean, I'm not going to tell her that, because me and her don't really, see eye to eye, and we have our issues, but I think she really kind of has grown a lot, from her situation. So, and from getting a boyfriend that was helping her grow and go to school and stuff, and not get involved with all this, neighbor and elderly drama. Like my mom said, during the pandemic, a lot of people got closer together. A lot of people came closer together during the pandemic, and I came closer together with a lot of my neighbors that now some of them probably don't want to be so close to me and stuff like that. But some of my neighbors and stuff, we got closer during the pandemic, and it was really a huge mistake getting closer to some of these neighbors during the pandemic, because in some cases they learned things about me and stuff like that, but now it's like I don't even want anything to do with them. I want a whole nother life, and I don't want anything to do with them, and kind of want to branch out and have a whole nother life and situation for myself, but yet they still kind of knew some pieces of my business, or kind of want to act like they still have a right and say to be in my business and stuff like that. And it's really not okay the way things are going. I mean, I'll agree it wasn't okay. I mean, I probably should have walked away. I said that to myself afterwards. Why didn't you just walk? Why didn't you just grab what you needed to grab and walk out? You know, why do I need to even stand there and argue with the elderly and kind of get into almost into a shouting match? I mean, I wasn't shouting compared to how I could really shout. I wasn't really getting into a really big shouting match, but I really shouldn't have stood there, you know, and argued with the elderly like I did. But most of them were ganging up on me about my weight and etc. So, these are just my thoughts on the situation. I mean, some people feel like I was wrong because they're elderly and they're disabled too. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm elderly and disabled too. So it's like the elderly and disabled. But I mean, maybe I'm a different type of disabled and elderly. You know, I'm a different type of disabled compared to them. But still, I mean, it's always the ones. I mean, I was talking to my friend Mateo, right? It's always the ones who seem to feel like they can get away with it. You know, because they feel like they can be opinionated and get away with it. That will have something to say and escalate the situation and etc. Because they'll have something to say about it and stuff like that. They'll be able to have that opinion to get away with it or do what they need to do because they have their disability or they have their walkers and stuff and they look so innocent. But people, it's like that meme. It's like that meme that I saw a while ago, which I don't know. It's somewhere on my Facebook, but it's like the little child is the devil, and then the elderly person. Wait, no. No, hold on. It's the elderly person's the devil and the little child's the angel, or something switched like that, or something of reversal. But it was something like that, and it was supposed to say, be careful of appearances, and judging others, because you can be judging the wrong person's character, the wrong person's values and things when it comes to who they really are and how they really are and how they act. So. I won't lie. There should be conflictions with with that neighbor who was like an adopted grandmother. There should be more conflictions than there are, especially because my brother might still talk to her. My brother and his newfound sister-in-law or girlfriend might still talk to them, but that's kind of a conflict of interest to me, And then she wants to talk to my mom and have a say with my mom, probably because my brother kind of wants to know what's going on. But I have a half brother. Who lives in Terryville, and he had connections to Torrington and married or seeing a woman from Torrington who had been in Torrington for like 4 years or so until she moved. Which I don't like her because she's from Torrington. I think we should just keep ourselves out of Torrington's stuff and occasionally. I mean, I have no choice to be in Torrington. This is where I have to have services. This is where I have to make my name and grow. I mean, I kind of had to deal with it despite the bullying and despite the drama and despite all the discredits and stuff to my name that really kind of taken my name and stuff down, or at least trying to take my name and stuff down to paint me as such and such a person, or to paint me in such a way as not a good person and etc. It started. Some of it had to do with the girl who got killed outside my place. It was outside my place, but it had to do with a couple other people within my mental health program. It was my mental health program as well as this other person's mental health program and this girlfriend's mental health program that they had to go and get involved in that whole situation where a girl got killed. And Torrington wants to bully. Torrington wants to do what they want to do, and that was the start of some downhill spirals between socialization for me with the Torrington community and stuff like that, because it was a big thing that shook the whole town. And unfortunately, the guy was a big stocky Italian guy like myself. Some people felt like at the time we were dressing very similar. We had similar features. We were dressing similar and had similar features, and they felt I almost looked like the guy. And people were trying to call me out for it, but mostly it was just because of drama and instigative shit and bullshit. But still, I had been told my ass was going to get beat and stuff, and I had threats of violence against me, and other stuff placed. But luckily, I'm still standing, and I'm for right now, I'm still standing and doing what I need to do. But that's another reason why I'm wondering if I could really be homeless in Torrington. If I was really homeless in Torrington, if I really didn't have a place to go in Torrington, could I really be homeless in Torrington, or would I really have to move closer to my mom, where at least I could have the shelter of my mom's roof if I need to, and be in a whole nother town or facility and not have to deal with Torrington, because there's been a lot of issues with Torrington where some people wanted to soil my name, and some people have it out for me and stuff like that, where people have it out for me and people have it against me and etc. Um, so I almost don't think if I were to be homeless in Torrington, I wouldn't be in Torrington. I think I would have to, almost move where my mom is, even if it was temporarily. Temporarily, I would move where my mom was, or down towards my mom's way, until there could be another area for me to live at in another situation. My mom wanted me to go into the housing over there, because my mom said she knew some people at the housing over there, but she wanted me to go into the housing that they had over there, and she said it was very, I would like it. It would be very better for me. It would be more beneficial and stuff like that. But I was never able to get into the housing for Naugatuck and stuff, and stuff like that. So I personally am not going to be going. I personally am probably not going to be moving to Naugatuck by the time my mother passes away. Well, maybe I will be. Maybe I will be. Maybe God's shifting the waters and shifting things now for doors to open, so I can actually go towards another location, so I don't have to stay in this location. But unfortunately, if I get evicted here in this program, I can't go to the Naugatuck's program for housing or affordable housing, because if I get evicted here, if I owe money, if I get evicted here, if there's any type of discrepancies with me here, I can't go to Naugatuck housing, and I can't apply for Naugatuck housing where it's going to be cheaper. I'm going to have to still pay, a lot more out of pocket and struggle financially. But sometimes I think the bigger the struggle, the bigger the blessings. They say the bigger the struggle, the bigger the blessings, or the bigger the blessings, the bigger the devils. And the devils are really showing their faces lately. The devils are really showing their faces lately. So I'm sure the bigger the blessings are coming along when it comes to my situation and etc. But I don't think people really want to hear about that, or really like hearing about that. I think there's a lot of demonic forces and a lot of people who have really hateful and jealousy spirits when it comes to my happiness or other people's happiness and success. So, I just got my Tumu order, and I would have talked to my friend. Well, it's not my friend, but I would have talked to Marie. Marie told me never talk to her again, but I would have talked to Marie and said, "Look, I got my Temu order." I would have showed her my hats and stuff like that. But apparently, we got to go down these roads lately where I'm such a problem and this and that. My biggest regret is maybe not just walking away and then going down there later when nobody's around, because I personally do not want to deal with the escalated bullshit. But it's fine. It's fine by me. It's fine by me right now. I'm gonna be fine. If I have to be evicted, I have to be evicted. There's going to be bigger blessings and bigger lessons down the road, and I'm going to have to probably get a job anyways. So why not make it where I have also really even no choice, and really hardly try to make it where I have to also try to afford a place to live on top of trying to get groceries and stuff like that, just so I can survive, and get out and see the day and stuff, But Torrington, if I became homeless in Torrington, I wouldn't be in Torrington. I would have to. I'm granted if I could get back into my apartment, because the way things are going, it's almost looking like I wouldn't be able to get back into my apartment. But it's like, if I were to be able to be on good terms with housing, just get back into my apartment, grab what I need to grab for myself, within like a 2 or 3 day period of time, pack everything up and move it, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it might take like 2 to 5 days. I don't know how many boxes I can accumulate, but it would be a matter of packing up all my hygiene supplies. That's mostly what it is in here, is poetry books, hygiene supplies, CDs. I got some food, and some kitchen stuff, and then my artwork. But I mean, most of the stuff, I mean, hopefully could be packed up in like 5 days, 3 to 5 days, and I could actually get the hell out of here. Of course, I have no backbone. That's the problem my mom and I were talking about, and that's what was our gripe, and that was our gripe to each other, that there's no backbone, there's no savings to live off of. If I needed to go into a motel, or if I needed to go somewhere to, just keep a roof over my head. There's no savings. There's no backup. There's no financial backup to put a roof over my head, in the meantime. I have about what? I mean, 40 to $40 in my account between the rent that they have yet to take. So, I mean, I'm still going to be able to do some things for myself, and I plan on it just in case everything goes haywire, blows up in my face, and completely just goes out of control. Like things have just been. But the bigger the devil, the bigger the blessing, or the bigger the blessing, the bigger the devil, or something like that. Either one, reverse it how you want to. But yeah, there's going to be a blessing for me down the road. I don't know if I'm going to be able to really get the blessing or not. I don't know if I'll be really worthy of it, but maybe the blessing is not to stay here. There's been trauma in this. There's been trauma in this apartment. There's been emotional and mental breakdowns. There's been multiple things that have happened to me in this apartment and in this living situation. And even sometimes when I go out my door into the community room and try to talk to my other neighbors, as you saw today, that maybe there is a need of a change. Some people say I could get a roommate. Some people like, oh, if you get a roommate, you can afford like a 2-bedroom apartment. If you get a roommate and you guys split the rent or something, that's another way you can basically get by, is you get a roommate and then you guys kind of split the bill and stuff. But for the most part, I'm just shaking my head and just like, what the fuck. But I'm still kind of like, what the fuck. But anyways, I'm going to start dinner, because I'm going to start dinner. My friend Mateo's not calling me. I was going to ask him to go get a coffee, I have $1 on me. I was thinking about spending $1.05, $1.06, $1.12, or however much it was to at least go get a coffee and go walk the Cumberlands, but he's not around, so I think he's either in New York or with his family or doing what he has to do, so, I don't know, but it's whatever. I'm alright for the most part for now, but I don't know what the future's going to hold, and I guess it depends on me walking away or me not trying to deal with certain bullshit and stuff. I mean, I hate the fact that there's elevators here. I hate the fact that there's elevators here. I hate the fact that, that the community room is so open that you can just run into people and there's could always be a confrontation, I don't like confrontation. I don't like escalative situations, but when I find myself in them, I seem to like escalate and have a problem. So, and there seems to be a lot of escalative situations happening, and people seeming to get their rocks off on it, or getting their rocks off of possibly getting me evicted. So, I mean, if I'm not evicted by July, or I'll probably have 90 days to get out of here. So, I mean, if I owe money to the housing authority, the money might not go to the housing authority if I get evicted. It might end up just going to be saved. It might end up just going to be saved for 3 months, and that way I can use some of the money I have to maybe just take some of that and move, because there's no other way to do it except take the money from the rent and the bills and try to say, oh, I'm going to take it and I'm going to move to such and such and get the hell out of Torrington, or get the hell out of Dodge, which I think should have happened a long time ago, before I get committed to a federal crime or some federal bullshit, because of the situations here. If it's not politics, it's going to be the fucking Federal Housing Authority of the state of Connecticut, or the Torrington, Connecticut, or whatever you want to call it. That's going to probably get me locked up at this point, but because I did mention politics, almost making me feel like I could get locked up, but trying to breathe. I'm overheated, but I'm trying to breathe. Anyways.